me feeling like I'm academics.
I wanted to throw this to you. I got to see if he authorized me to kind of, I'm not necessarily fully doxing him here, but okay. This is my man, and I don't know if you want me to say his name, but he's you guys would probably know who he is. This is 6ix9ine, and by the way, he's a chat nigga too. Like, this is my guy. I think he's in the Discord. I treat my boy right, man. This is 6ix9ine head security during when everything happened. He says, "Yo, bro, I was there when all the trucks were surveilling us. They followed us everywhere." He said they basically stalked us. By the way, keep in mind, this is the time where the feds had picked 6ix9ine up first. They pulled him into a meeting. They say, "Hey, listen, we have information that you might be targeted and you might be possibly attacked by other members of the gang. Do you want us to give you protection?" And that was almost like a soft way of trying to see
So here's the thing. I actually did a whole talk on this.
Go ahead.
On my Fed reaction, and actually I'll give it to you even so.
Oh, and by the way, the last thing, and I'll throw it over to you after. The last thing he said I was there during the hits and everything, and he says he knows for a fact they tapped his phone too. All right, go ahead.
So let's go ahead and go through this, right? So I actually know this very intimately, right? Because at the time, right, when I was working for the agency, I had a Chinese organized crime case, and I went up to New York, and I actually met with some of the agents from the HSI New York office case, HSI New York, and this was right after they had picked up 6ix9ine, and I kind of figured this out from talking to them, and then also I worked in the HSI New Haven office, and I knew agents there as well. So here's a story with this situation. 6ix9ine was going to go to the casinos in Connecticut. For those that are unaware, we got Foxwoods and Mohegan, right, which is over on Eastern Connecticut, right? And at the time, the feds were listening to, or HSI, they were listening to, if I'm not mistaken, Mel Murder's phone or Jim Jones. They were listening to somebody.
Yeah, I think it was Mel Murder who spoke to Jim Jones. Yes, go ahead.
There you go. So they were listening to Mel Murder's phone, and from and I know this from doing Title IIIs. One of the things that you must do if you hear this on a Title III, if you hear violence gonna occur, you have to notify the individuals whose life is threatened if you listen to it on the phone. Now, obviously, this sucks because now you're kind of disclosing that you might be having a wiretap, right? So you have to kind of go about it in a creative way to not disclose it. So what happened
wait, hold on. So, and by the way, that infamous call, it was a conversation, and I won't play it here, not to bore the audience, but the conversation, Jim Jones, I believe, told Mel Murder, you have to supervise. So as a federal agent, how do you know that means kill? Because super violate means what?
Yeah, I mean, you super violate, you already know. You're listening to that on a wiretap, you're like, okay, this is a threat against his life. Because at this point, 6ix9ine was kind of on the outs with them. I think he had just
all
done
the way
that
on the outs. He just did a Breakfast Club interview saying that he's by himself. He re-recorded lyrics saying he don't need nobody. Yes.
So he said he fired his whole crew, etc. Now, what a lot of people don't know was he was actually planning to go to Connecticut, right, and go gamble at the casinos. Now, from an agent's perspective, this is a fucking nightmare, right? Because on one end, you're listening to Mel Murder's phone, the main target of your investigation, and you literally heard a credible threat against Tekashi's life. So you have to go notify him. So what do? They go tell him, look, bro, there's a threat against your life. I doubt that they told him that we're on a wiretap or any of the other shit. They're just like, look, we got information that there's a threat on your life. We need you to do X, Y, Z. 6ix9ine, being the rambunctious person he is, he says, no, fuck that shit. I don't need job protection. Like, fuck that. I'm a rapper. Like, I can't be seen with y'all. This is a career ender. Fuck that. Right? And obviously he had a plan to go to Connecticut to gamble at the casino. Now, from an agent perspective, there's two things you can do. A, you find a way to get him arrested to protect himself from himself, or B, right, you let him go to Connecticut and you have to maintain surveillance on him the whole time to make sure he doesn't get fucking killed. Well, for those that are unaware, in Connecticut, Mohegan and Foxwoods, it's on sovereign Native American territory. So now...
Wow, what does that mean?
So it's run by the tribal police. They have their own law enforcement there.
Does the Fed supersede that?
Well, this is where it gets this. So this is the thing. You can go in there, of course. You can, obviously, you're a federal agent, but you now have to notify the tribal police that you're going to be there, you're going to be conducting surveillance, etc., and kind of the situation. Feds don't like to notify the state and locals if they don't need to, especially on a high-profile case like this. Now, what makes this even more of a nightmare is the New York field office now has to go into what's called a different area of responsibility. Mohegan is going to be considered, Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods, etc., that's going to be covered by HSI New Haven and HSI Hartford. Well, I'll tell y'all right now, those are two small field offices, maybe 20, 30 agents total in the state, right? They're not going to be able to effectively cover this guy on surveillance, and you got to take HSI New York agents and follow him as well. So that's a fucking logistical nightmare to not only follow 6ix9ine all the way to Connecticut and make sure that he's safe, but now you got to notify the tribal police and let them know, yo, we're going to be in your AOR doing surveillance on this individual, blah, blah, blah. They're like, man, fuck this shit. This is a nightmare. And if something happens, God forbid, there is a shootout, some bloods or anything else like that, follow him to the casino, and there's a shooting and anyone gets hurt, and the feds knew about it, bro, that's a fucking PR nightmare. So they're like, you know what? Fuck this shit. We're just going to arrest them. That's why if you look at the indictment, it's kind of rushed when they went ahead and picked up 6ix9ine and all these other guys. I think they kind of picked them up to, well, obviously he was involved in criminal activity, but I think what their strategy was to arrest him later on.
Yeah,
but they had to avoid the violence. To save himself. They had to save him from himself.
Hey,
that's my question.
So, okay. Wow.
Yeah, you got some insight there.
No. Hey, we love the insight. I want to ask you this question, and I think this is probably on the minds of everybody watching, and to the tens of thousands watching you and even watching me. And by the way, if you guys don't know, I'm live, with my guys from Fresh and Fish. Shout out to my man Fresh, and also of course shout out to Myron Gaines. If you guys don't know, Myron Gaines is a former law enforcement officer that worked with the federal government in the exact roles of the agents who are now investigating and subsequently have arrested Sean P. Diddy Combs tonight. What do you think tonight? Because here's the thing. We think of Diddy as the take that toothpick in the mouth, bougie. Like, yo, he got the Star Island crib. He got the $60 million crib in motherfucking LA. He has the private jet. What is tonight like? And again, I don't know if you're familiar with like the intake system necessarily in New York, but like, what is it like having somebody who, the media is clamoring to know details, but he's going to be probably spending, I would hope, or not hope, but I would probably guess he's going to spend the night tonight in jail. What's tonight like as an agent? What's tonight like for him? What conditions is he in? Is he actually in a cell? Is he handcuffed? Or is he chilling in a room just kind of eating, potato chips and just kind of watching this while his lawyers are kind of hammering out the details? What's tonight like for him?
This is what I think. Okay, so this is what happened. I guarantee you this will happen. He gets arrested, right? Either by the case agent or people that are watching him on surveillance. They take him to the New York HSI office, bring him into the interview room. The case agent walks in, hey, look, these are your rights, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to talk? More than likely, I'm willing to bet he's going to say, no, I'm not talking without an attorney present. At that point, the case agent could kind of decide if he wants to let the attorney come in and they can have that discussion, or he says, you know what, fuck it. We're going to book him in. They probably took him to one of the federal facilities. I think there's one in Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken, FDC Brooklyn or something like that. Drop him off there. They're probably going to put him in protective custody for obvious reasons. He's going to be by himself. The case agent is going to probably get all his stuff together and be in court tomorrow morning. Cuffs?
I'm sorry to cut you off because like these details matter because sometimes we think, like for example, when we seen Trump, right? Like there's no proof that Trump actually got put in cuffs, right? He takes like it's almost like a selfie, like it's a mugshot. Like what's happening? Is Diddy getting treated like the rest of these motherfucking citizens in New York? Is he getting cuffed in the front? Is he get cuffed in the back? Is he getting put in a car? Is he getting put in a paddy wagon? Is he just getting put in a plane, in an unmarked car? Like, what do you think this is looking like? What's the privilege like for a billionaire?
I'll tell you exactly how this went down. So they arrested him at the lobby. Hey, look, man, we got a warrant for your arrest, etc.
Cuffs?
Probably cuffed him in the front, walk him out quietly.
Okay.
Right? They're going to have an unmarked parked out there ready to go. They put him in the back of the car, drive him over to the New York office in New York City. For HSI. You know, obviously, I'm
Hold
assuming
on.
the case.
And I hate to cut you up, but I like to get to the nitty gritties. Okay, we know Diddy's being flanked by security. This and third. Are they showing up with a little bit of force? Because you never know. He might have two
They're telling
armed.
security, fuck off. They're telling security, fuck off. We got an arrest warrant for him right here. Get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
His security can't do
So
shit.
security can't follow. It's going to be a stand down. Let's do this quietly, or this could be embarrassing.
Exactly, right.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that's how you would go about it if you want him to cooperate and talk to you. That's why I'm saying, like me, right? If I'm the case agent, I'm gonna have my guys approach nice and quiet. Hey, look, bro, because they're in plain clothes. Keep in mind, these are special agents. These are federal agents. They're in plain fucking clothes. Go up to them. Look, man, we got a warrant for your arrest. HSI. Boom. Look, let's just do this quietly. We'll cuff you in the front, or you just walk out with us. We'll cuff you right by the car. Tell the security to stand down. Put him in the vehicle. Case agent's probably either there on scene when he's getting arrested, right, to see if they can get any spontaneous utterances, which is spontaneous utterance is where they say something, right, spontaneously that can be used in court, right, without the Miranda rights being read, which the Miranda rights is you have the right to remain silent, blah, 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 all this other shit, which you have to read to them when they're being arrested. So he might make a spontaneous utterance, whatever. Oh, fuck, man, they got me, some other bullshit like that. You can use that, right? So they put him in the car. Case agent's probably there asking him questions. Hey,
Wait,
blah, blah, blah.
wait, hold on. Chat, I know y'all hate with me cutting them off. Wait, you could use a spontaneous utterance without reading the Miranda rights?
Yeah, so like when you arrest somebody, and this happens all the time when I was on the job, you arrest somebody, right? And they're like, fuck, I knew this fucking asshole got me jammed up. Or, oh, fuck, this fucking dude lied to me. Or like whatever. Like when you get him picked up, you can use that because he said a spontaneous utterance and you didn't ask him no questions.
Oh. Wow. I don't think that's well known. Oh wow, that's very interesting. Okay,
you can. I've gotten people all the time with that where you're going to go arrest them and they'll make some comments like this fucking asshole set me up.
Like fuck, they snitched on me. Like you can use that.
Yeah, yeah, you can use. You can absolutely use that, man. Yeah. And then obviously you read them his rights after the fact before you ask any questions, but you can absolutely use spontaneous utterances when they're being arrested. So as the case agent, you'd want to be there when that happens, or you send two of your guys that you really trust to effect the arrest, and then you ask him, hey, did he say anything when you picked him up? So they probably bring him out to the car. They want him to cooperate, right? And a lot of the time, federal agents are going to be really cool with you because they want to get a statement, right? They're not going to fucking throw you to the floor and all this other bullshit. They're going to do it nice and quietly, not try to embarrass you, right? Their job is to take away your freedom, not your dignity, right? Especially if they want to get a statement from you. So they put you in the car. Case agent's probably there. Reads him his Miranda real quick. Asks him some questions. You know, maybe make some small talk, whatever it may be. Then they get him back to the office. Hey, you want to talk? No, I want a lawyer. Okay, no problem. We're going to start getting you ready for the U.S. Marshals, right? Because the way it works in the federal system is when you have someone arrested federally, right? Sometimes and we're really getting in the weeds here, but I'll explain it anyway. So the U.S. Marshals a lot of times have contracts with local jails to hold bodies for them that are federal custody. Now, in a place like New York City, which is big, they might not necessarily need that. So you might just take them right to the federal detention center, right? And there's going to be marshals there that will book them, fingerprint them, put them into NCIC, all that other stuff, right? And then they'll put them in there. And then the next morning, right? Sometimes there'll be an arrangement with the marshals or the agent himself. You got to go pick them up and then take them to court in front of the magistrate. But in this case, a big city like that, more than likely, they probably have a streamlined system. The marshals probably bring them to the courthouse for you, and then you're just there for the initial appearance.
Okay. Two questions. Oh, go ahead, Fresh.
Real quick. So our guy is here, David Green. Mm-hmm. He's a real estate expert. So we're thinking about buying Diddy's mansion. It's for sale right now, bro. It's on the market right now for sale, brother. What you want, nigga? You want to buy this house or not?
Well, okay, all right. I gotta get like a notepad, like Myron, because you just brought up another point, which I think is a great point to bring up. So, by the way, there was an erroneous lawsuit filed, and even there was a, what do you call it again? It was a it was an order that was actually signed by a judge. Basically, it was like an injunctive order, like basically. Saying that, hey, his properties are subject to maybe the worth of what he has that could be the subject of a civil suit, and some inmate, which I think this is bullshit, but this inmate filed two things. He filed a lawsuit against Diddy, which, by the way, he got a. Do you guys know what I'm talking about or not? Because I could bring it up. Inmate.
I'm not familiar with this.
Yes, so an inmate got a default judgment, right, of $100 million in Michigan. Some random inmate. So he got $100 million judgment in Michigan. Obviously, now his lawyer, I guess his lawyers didn't know about it. Somehow they finessed it where they convinced the court that it was served properly. Diddy never heard of it. Now Diddy's lawyers saying they're gonna, contest it. But not only did they get the default judgment, which obviously Diddy's lawyers are gonna go to vacate, they went to go get like an injunctive order from that judge to say his property, the Homely Hills one that he's trying to sell for like 60 or 70 million, cannot be sold because that will be the subject of compensation, barring the result of this case, which the guy already got a judgment for, which is $100 million. So basically saying until further proceedings, they wanted the judge to block that sale or any potential sale. Obviously,
I'm not familiar with that. I know you said you had two questions though from before. I know Fresh literally detracted from what you were trying to ask. What was the two questions you were asking?
Yeah, I should have wrote it down. Okay.
I was describing to you how the marshals take the guys, how the feds would pick him up, try to get an interview.
Perfect.
Drop him off to the marshals, and then you said you had two questions, and Fresh totally derailed everything.
No, but he's asking a good question too. But okay, so I think
that's real estate question. What the hell?
Thanks, Akademiks.
Nothing to do with the marshals, man.
My boy.
This guy, man.
Yo, I think a lot of people, even me, I promise you, I'm having just even thinking about the situation, the way we look at Diddy and how powerful he is, we almost want to see, even when they raided his crib when he was in Miami, they met him at, I forgot the private airport. We never seen him in cuffs. We never seen him treated, even like how we seen his sons or maybe like the workers at his crib being treated. And a lot of people think this is billionaire privilege. So I guess it goes to two questions. How certain are you tonight that Diddy is actually in a jail cell?
Right? 1,000%. He's probably marshal custody right now when we speak, or he's talking with the feds if he's cooperating.
So you think 100% he is in some jail cell in New York City like any other inmate?
Guaranteed. I mean, hell, we might even be able to I don't know if the BOP website might not have it, but yeah, he's definitely either A, cooperating and talking with the feds right now, or B, he's in a jail cell in New York City somewhere, probably maybe FDC Brooklyn or some shit like that, or in Manhattan, depending on wherever the marshals have their contract with holding federal prisoners.
Okay, and by the way, I'm looking that up as we speak. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I will ask you this, and by the way, I just looked it up. It says no records found. I just looked up the.
He hasn't been committed to Bureau of Prisons. Yeah, he's in marshal custody.
Okay, yeah, I looked up through the.
After you've been sentenced.
Yeah, I looked up through the New York City Department of Corrections. Usually, even if they're in, so the popular intake place in New York is what's called the Tombs, especially Manhattan. And usually, you would see that person in there, and we figure out where they go from there.
Even federal, right? Because they probably have a contract with the marshals.
Yes, because Casanova used to be able to at a certain point. I'm not saying initially. At a certain point, you could be able to find him through there, but we can't find anything with Diddy yet. Second of all, here's the second question. You spoke about how the arrest probably went down. Now, you being an agent and kind of mapping out these things, Diddy's obviously cooperating to a certain extent. He comes to a New York City high rise. What level of force do you go in with? Because
very little.
The level of force we saw in Miami and even LA, it looked like they were ready for, and obviously they defended that. We seen Diddy's baby mama said, "Hey, why'd you need all that? Why'd you have the gun to, my son's head or this and third?" And basically they said, "Well, we hear there's a lot of weapons, and we had to whatever." In this situation, you're planning the arrest. How much force are you going in with, and how do you determine?
None. And the reason why is because if you want them to cooperate and talk to you, you can't go in and fuck them up and expect them to talk to you. So like for the arrest, you're going to go in very, very quietly, very covertly, especially someone like this that has a public image. You don't want to embarrass them. You want to kind of like, hey, man, we're going to do you solid. We're not going to cuff you up in front of everybody, right? Maybe they did. Who knows? It depends on how the interaction went. But if I'm the case agent and I want to get cooperation, I'm not going to go in there and arrest the guy crazy, because that could really mess things up. Now, as far as the search warrant goes, because you said that they went and used. So, okay, let me explain this so people kind of understand. When you're conducting a search warrant, right, and you're looking for evidence of a crime in a house, right, depending on the individual, that's going to kind of dictate how you proceed with doing the search warrant. Now, when you're doing a search warrant, the number one thing that you need to do is you need to clear the house first. Then you get agents in there to actually search, right? So first you got to do the sweep, make sure there's nobody in there. Anybody that is in there, you zip time, get them the hell out the house, make sure it's completely safe. Then you bring the agents in that are a part of the investigative team to do it. But the people that are going to go in and clear the house is, in this case, it was the SRT, Special Response Team, right? That's their SWAT team. So if I'm the case agent, I'm not going to do I prefer to let the SRT handle it, clear the house, especially a big structure like that, make sure it's safe. Then I send the guys in my group that are helping me with this investigation and know what to look for. Then they go in and start searching it. So it's two different teams of agents kind of that are dealing with the search warrant. So first is the clearing from the tactical side. Once that's done, then you get the actual agents that are involved in the case and have a stake in the case to go in and actually search. So, that's just kind of how search warrants are done, right? And then if you know that the individual might have guns in the house, there's going to be certain people there, whatever it may be, you're going to actually, you're going to operate with a certain level of, carefulness to make sure that no one's hurt. But after it's clear, you're good to go. So that's what ends up happening. It's always where you want to use a strong use of force to kind of like disincentivize anyone to do anything stupid. If you go in there with the SRT team, they're going to be like, oh yeah, fuck that. I'm not going to fight these guys.
So it was reported on TMZ that not only did they arrest him, but they also went in and they are executing a search. Well, they didn't say search warrant, but they're searching the hotel room he was in. What do you think? Do they really believe that maybe he has some incriminating evidence in his hotel room, or is that a standard procedure?
Yeah, I mean, they probably got a consent to search, right? Since he's at that hotel, I doubt that they actually cut paper on a search warrant to go in there. They probably said, hey, look, man, up in your room, do you need anything that you need to get with you, personal belongings, whatever? He might have said, yeah, I do. They escort him up there. Maybe they ask him, hey, do you mind if we search, make sure it's safe, like no one's in here hiding? And they could go ahead and do a search. So, I'm assuming it's a consent to search or search incident to arrest, bringing him up there to get any belongings you might want.
Wow. So in the morning, this indictment is going to be,
it'll be unsealed, and we'll see exactly what he's looking at. I predict it's going to be sex trafficking with racketeering, but they can add other stuff. We'll see what happens.
Is it a possibility that he gets out tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I think him and his legal team have planned for this. I think that's why they've been cooperating with the feds. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. I think that's why he's even in New York right now. We know that he spends most of his time in Miami. His main home is here. So I think a whole part of him even being in New York in the first place was he knew that these charges were going to come down. There was probably some type of communication between the AUSA and his defense team, and he said, I'm going to make it easier for y'all. I'm here. And this is all to lead up to this arrest so that he can go ahead and argue in court and say, look, I've been nothing but cooperative. The feds have known where I was the whole time. My legal team has been in close communication with the United States Attorney's Office. I am not a flight risk. I'm not a danger to society. I want to be out on bond fighting this case. And I think he's going to have a good chance of getting bond.
All right. So 2 things. And I'll give you guys an update if you guys don't know. So one of his, I'll call her a girlfriend. I'll be nice today. Young Miami, Carisha. She hit me up. She said, hey, we should have a conversation. She said she wants to talk about everything, no holds bar, about her career, everything I've said about her. I've had a lot of commentary about what I thought about her music career and maybe some sacrifices that she made for her music career because she wanted to be in a relationship with a guy who could be seen as a sugar daddy, right?
City girls.
We were going to plan a time to do a Carisha Please episode, which, I talked to Fresh about. Fresh was like, "Ak, you sure you good?" I said, "Listen, I've walked into the Lions Den many times. I have no problems." By the way, to her credit, she said, "All right, we're going to touch back up on this. I'm still waiting for the date. I'm down to show up anytime." She did do an interview, though, or did do a episode of her show where, she did it with her homosexual best friend, Saucy Santana. And he asked her some questions about this whole thing. And what she basically said was, "Hey, listen, I don't know too much of anything. Blah, 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 this and third." However, there is a huge overlap with her and Diddy in the last, I want to say 3 years, to be generous. Is it possible that maybe this indictment comes out and is just all legacy things that has nothing to do with anything that happened in the last couple of years? Or do you think they still try to tie at least some recent stuff into what he was doing in terms of his behavior?
Yeah, I could definitely answer that. Real quick, I just want to tell my audience this. Guys, we're going to switch on over to Twitch, so come on over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Fresh and Fit Podcast. We're going to go on Twitch. We're on YouTube right now and Rumble, but come on over to Twitch, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll drop the link in there. We're going to switch right now, but I'll answer this question. So the question is, are there going to be recent events with potentially Young Miami or any other co-conspirators or any other witnesses in this indictment? I think so, yeah, for sure. They're going to have something in there recent that at least kind of aligns with the statute of limitations, because they're going to need to prove that the criminal activity is still going on. That's a very important part of RICO, is establishing that it's an ongoing criminal enterprise. If you look at any RICO indictment, right, whether you look at the 691 one, you look at the Casanova one, etc., the first paragraph almost always is them talking about the organization being defined as a criminal enterprise, right? So whether it was the Nine Trey Gangsta Bloods or the Gorilla Stone Bloods from the Casanova situation, they're going to, define Diddy's organization as an enterprise first. Then they're going to show, look, this is an enterprise. They've been doing this since the 80s or the 90s. And then they're going to start displaying all the racketeering activities or criminal activities that have been going on since then all the way up until now. And then there'll be something probably recent within the last 5 to 10 years in the indictment. That's the most recent. But that's the whole, they're going to definitely have something in there that's somewhat recent so that they can establish that this has been a pattern of criminal activity.
Okay. We're jumping ahead a little bit ahead here, but obviously, again, for anybody who's watching, this is pretty much, it's not ground zero, but moment zero. If we hear about the arrest, we don't know what's in the indictment. We're gonna hear about that in the morning. We'll have a fully unsealed indictment. We hope that we could break down. So we're just going off what we think. At what point, when a suspect is taken into custody, does conversation about maybe a potential plea start?
It can be immediately, depending on the individual, how much they're cooperating, how much their defense team is involved in a situation like this, where it seems that Diddy's had defense from the beginning and they've been coordinating with the prosecution and the AUSA. These are conversations that can be had almost immediately, especially if the person's cooperative. When you see people being charged with something called an information versus an indictment, 9 out of 10 times that's because they've already kind of ironed out a plea deal and the person is cooperating with the government, which is why they got hit with the information versus a formal indictment. But I predict that there's already been talks of them potentially pleading out to something. So we'll only see, right? But we'll have to see. We'll see how fast the case kind of moves along in Pacer. But I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a deal already worked out of him pleading to something.
Really? So you don't think this is going to be a long knock him down type of case where they're like, hey, let's spend the first 3 months hammering out discovery. Let's then angle towards what we're going to do. Let's take some additional time. Let's figure out a trial date. You don't think it's going to be that slow?
Well, here's the thing. So good question. If he gets bond, they're going to drag their feet, right? If he gets bond, there's no reason to make it a speedy trial. They don't need to do that because he's out and he's free. So there's no need to do that. But if he doesn't get bond, which I do think he'll get bond.
House arrest or no house arrest?
they're gonna. What was that?
How so? Okay, let's say he gets bonded. What does that look like? He could go and be like, "Hey, listen, I was flying around the United States, and I still came here for the indictment, and I turned myself in.
Yeah.
I want to be able to travel for work. Okay, I'll have an ankle monitor on, but I could travel for work. Do you think that's a possibility, or they're like, yo, fuck out of here. You're gonna stay your ass in a penthouse or that goddamn Star Island spot in Miami?
Yeah,
and
no, I
does
think
he have to
it's
stay
very
in New York? Sorry.
I think it's very probable that he'll get, access to be able to travel for work. Given the nature of his work and being a businessman and a musician, I don't think that they would. Maybe they'll put him on an ankle monitor. Maybe they'll give him house arrest if he, if it's really strict. But I don't foresee them saying like, no, you can't travel, especially since his defense team has been so cooperative. I think the whole strategy for them was being cooperative from the beginning because they knew this was coming. So they're going to say, look, we've been cooperative with y'all. We tell you guys everywhere we're traveling. You guys have the flight logs. We tell you guys where we're going ahead of time. Like, obviously, he's a businessman. He's got to generate money, etc. Let him travel. And I think the judge might say, and the AUSA is probably not going to object to that. Probably not going to object.
Real quick, Hype Train Level 5 on Twitch.
Oh,
I just gave away 10 subs. Hop on the Twitch, man. We're going viral right now. Show Akademiks, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, come on over to Twitch, guys. We're transitioning. No more live streaming on YouTube, so we're slowly doing it. But does that answer that though? That's what I predict is going to happen with that.
Do you see, obviously we're talking about cooperating, and obviously that's different from snitching or whatever. But just hey, we're accommodating the investigation. We're trying to help because we are quote unquote seemingly innocent. Do you see this get to a point where maybe Diddy's legal team takes the angle that, hey, my client has been attacked, and meaning more combative, like, hey, the AUSAs are targeting my client because of erroneous false civil lawsuits filed by money-hungry people who I've worked with who have just not done well in life, and the AUSA believes these stuff, and they're prosecuting on a very, they're using malintent to try to get at me, and maybe it's just not as, okay, handshaky where, okay, you're working with the AUSA and their office to.
I think what will happen is that's a really good question. So basically, the question is like, how long are they going to play ball for and kind of be nice?
Yeah.
What I predict here is if he gets bond, they're gonna. So here's the thing, right? So obviously, there's going to be the discovery process, right, where the government is going to turn everything over to Diddy's legal team that they got.
Is
right?
there a time limit on that?
Legal team doesn't know what they have yet.
Is there a time limit on that? I'm sorry.
Typically, it's within a couple of, the discovery process. It's an ever-flowing situation because, as the investigation is ongoing, things come up. It's up to the AUSA to get that stuff out immediately. But the evidence that they have that led to the indictment, they're going to hand that over probably tomorrow, right? It's probably on a thumb drive. AUSA is probably ready to go to court tomorrow. Give it to the defense attorney. Here you go. Here's a thumb drive with all the stuff. Go through it, right? So what I predict is after Diddy gets that bond, because they got to play nice with the government so that they can get this bond. Once he's out and he's, on bond, and the defense has the discovery, that's where I think, okay, now it's kind of an adversarial situation now. Let's go through this discovery, see what they got, try to find holes in this. And then that's when they're going to really start formulating their game plan once they have the discovery and see what the feds actually have on Diddy. But I think they'll play ball until he gets the bond. And then from that point, it's going to be a little bit more of a Cold War type situation.
Okay. And again, forgive me for some of the questions I'm asking because they might just seem left field.
These are good questions.
At what point, if I'm Diddy and now I need to be prepared with my legal team, at what point could I probably identify, oh, this person in my organization or this former person I used to be cool with is a snitch? Who's the cooperatives? Would that be probably abundantly clear off of the indictment being unsealed? Or do you have to wait for discovery to be like, wait, the only person that would know this was the engineer who was in the studio, so that person must be snitching? Or so that might be discovery, or maybe you could read the complaint and be like, how the fuck they know that shit?
No, good question. So indictments are almost always more broadly written than criminal complaints are. And for the audience, just so they kind of know, a criminal complaint in his affidavit written by this special agent, which literally outlines the case that and the facts that lead to probable cause. They're far more detailed than indictments are, right? And just so you guys know, a criminal complaint, you still have to indict the individual. So a criminal complaint typically is done with a probable cause. Like the example I gave earlier, I catch someone at the border. He has 10 kilo, customs caught him with 10 kilos of coke. I respond to the scene. Obviously we have the evidence right there. I write up a criminal complaint, arrest him, and then within 2 weeks we have to indict him. In indictment, you kind of skip that whole affidavit thing, and then you just go right to the grand jury, indict it, and then you get an arrest warrant and go get him, right? So everyone has to be indicted at some point at the federal level if you're going to be criminally charged. So, shit. What was it?
The question is, how do we find the snitches? Because we know they're cooperants.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the affidavit, that's why I was explaining this. In the affidavit, it's a lot easier to identify cooperators and informants because the agent himself is outlining the probable cause in his affidavit, and a lot of the times it's very difficult for you to shield that. You have to disclose informants to some degree unless you got an overwhelming amount of evidence where you didn't even need to put the informant stuff in. But typically the informant stuff is what leads to a probable cause. So the affidavit will be able to reveal it. Now in this case with the indictment, the indictments are typically more broadly written. So he could go ahead and read it, right, and kind of connect some dots here or there. But it's not going to be as easy to tell with an indictment. However, when they get the discovery, all of the HSI reports are going to be in there. Then that's when he'll be able to know who's who and who said what, etc. Because when they get those reports, because the agents have to disclose all the ROIs, HSI calls them ROIs, reports of investigation, that's where Diddy and his team will be able to read those HSI reports, and they'll see all the witness interviews, and they'll know who is who, and that's going to come from the discovery.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting.
So he'll know who turned on him within the first month or so, easily.
Wow. But you do think he's going to get some type of, at least initial bond?
Yeah, I predict he'll get bond. I do predict he'll get bond. I think his legal team is going to fight like hell for it. It might be an ankle monitor, like you mentioned, where he can't leave his house or whatever, but I don't think they're going to put him in jail. And then another argument they're probably going to make is his life is in danger, safety issues. He's a celebrity. It's going to cause stress to the jail, to the jail, to put him in private custody the whole time. It just works out better for everyone to have him just be on house arrest or to be out on bond. And I think he has a very good chance of doing that.
Speaking of which,
it might not tomorrow necessarily, but I think if he doesn't get it tomorrow, he'll probably have an official bond hearing within a few days. And I think at that bond hearing, assuming he doesn't get out tomorrow, he'll be able to get out.
Speaking of which, back in November, right, the NYPD claimed they had no knowledge of any. This was after I think someone erroneously said that, the NYPD's investigating it. They came out and said, we have no knowledge of any investigation going on against Diddy. Mm-hmm. Clearly, the NYPD, I would imagine, and you could tell me that if you know, they probably work a little bit in line with the Southern District of New York and Homeland Security and FBI or whoever else. Do you think they just lied to the public? Because they said they had no investigation. 2 months later, the investigation started, and 2 months after that, so 4 months after, Diddy's house is getting raided. You think they lied?
Technically, no, and I'll tell you why. I guess I'll explain this whole concept. So, when you do criminal investigations, there's a state level and there's a federal level, right? And NYPD is going to have detectives assigned to federal agencies under task forces, and these detectives are going to be deputized as what's called a TFO or a task force officer. And what that basically means is, let's say I'm an NYPD detective, right? And I have state authority, but I get assigned to a Joint Terrorism Task Force, FBI task force, right? I get a set of FBI credentials. I am now not only a state detective, but now I am effectively a federal agent. So I have all the same authorities as the FBI special agent. I have the authorities to conduct investigations federally. I can carry my firearm on planes. I can travel interstate because I'm working with the FBI as a task force officer. So not only can I do a traffic stop if I fucking wanted to and put on a uniform and charge you for state charges, I can also conduct federal investigations, right? Same thing with DEA, same thing with HSI. So HSI has task force officers that are from NYPD, from New York State Police, from fire marshal, like for all different places, right? And these guys have not only Customs authority, right, with which HSI gives them because HSI is legacy U.S. Customs and Immigration. They also have their state authority. So what? And I say all this to say, the highest levels of brass, right, know, and at the NYPD know that they have detectives that work on these federal law enforcement task forces, but they're not privy to all the investigations that they're involved in, right, for obviously security purposes. So the only person a lot of times that knows what that detective is involved in is probably maybe his direct chain of command, right? His sergeant that's over him or his lieutenant will know he's assigned to the FBI JTTF or Joint Terrorism Task Force. He's involved with this stuff. Sometimes they might not even know everything that he's involved in. So because that detective is reporting to an FBI special agent, supervisory special agent, and that's effectively his supervisor over at the FBI. His other supervisor over at the NYPD kind of just like signs his time cards and shit like that, but he might not necessarily know what he's doing because when you're on a federal task force, the rules kind of change. So in a way, the NYPD isn't lying by saying we don't have an active investigation because that is true. There's an active investigation at the feds, but the brass a lot of times doesn't even know this stuff. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And I guess a joint question. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you. I appreciate
a lot of people have these questions, so it's the first time I think, because there ain't nobody on YouTube that's done the shit that I've done. Not to sound cocky or anything like that, but you know, when it comes to the federal stuff, I know exactly how every agency works. Because I've worked with all of them very closely. Pause.
Level 8 hype train on Twitch right now. Let's go, baby.
All right, we lit. We definitely lit.
Hey, you can't beat me, bro. Black as Panther, you can't beat me.
Okay, so
all right, go back. Sorry.
I'm just trying to think here. So if we're dealing with, so two things come to mind, and I want you to try to compare it. I don't know how much you're well versed in these other cases. We obviously seen the R. Kelly situation.
Yep.
We also seen Harvey Weinstein. So Harvey Weinstein, I believe he had either got one case like overturned or dismissed. I don't know if it was in New York. But what happened is they came back with another grand jury indictment for his ass. It's like almost they're like, nah, nigga. You're not getting out of this one. You're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. Obviously for obvious reasons, we get why these are heinous crimes. These are crimes that, the public has a significant interest in. They're making sure that these individuals, if we think about R. Kelly, he was charged in just multiple precincts and districts and places in the country where like he's serving multiple times. He won't be out for a very long time. Harvey Weinstein is a person who, based on how he was charged and even criminally convicted, at least initially, he was never supposed to get out. And even when he had maybe a slight victory, the Southern District of New York, they indicted him again, I believe, like very shortly. I think they're about to hit him with the arraignment and the unsealing of the new indictment. But basically, they're trying to tell him, you're never getting out. How much would you think, obviously we talked about the amount of money they spent in terms of the Diddy situation and how they investigated it. How much do you think that they're hell-bent on saying, Diddy, you're fucking done? You're going to just spend the rest of your time in jail, hiding the honey bun. You know what I mean? Like, you're done, gang. Like, it's over. Like, because they definitely felt that way about Harvey Weinstein. And by the way, I don't think this is a black or white thing. I think they're just like, yo, this is a matter of public interest. People want to see this motherfucker in jail. We're a failure if we allow this person to beat us at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're always, these are cases that kind of like, tug at the heartstrings, right? So people are going to be like, oh yeah, sex trafficking, etc., or crimes against women. They're always going to be looked at pretty seriously. And then as far as like R. Kelly goes, he was actually, I just double checked it, he actually got indicted by the Eastern District of New York, which they're also very aggressive because they compete with the Southern District of New York. They're based out of Brooklyn. I've worked with them before as well. They're also a good United States Attorney's Office. But yeah, man, I mean, at the federal level, especially when they come after you for anything, especially like a human trafficking case or a RICO or any of this other stuff, they're looking to put you away for a very long time. These are very serious charges. The fact that they convened the grand jury for as long as they did, the fact that they did this investigation as long as they did, the fact that they're using racketeering to bring in some of these allegations from the fucking 90s and early 2000s, I think that goes to show how serious they are as far as like pursuing this investigation. So they're looking at it like, look, Diddy, we got you so dead to rights. You're going to have to come to the table and plead guilty to something here that's still going to give you a significant amount of time.
By the way, for people who are wondering what the cases I referenced, so Harvey Weinstein, historical creep, he was initially found guilty of, he had an R-word conviction, but it got overturned by the New York Court of Appeal. The reason being is that they said that his trial was unfair because there were women who testified about their dealings with him, but some of the dealings that they were testifying to were never criminally charged or never, litigated in any court of law. So they believe that gave a unfair advantage to the prosecutor. So they threw out his conviction. And, Myron can speak to this after I'm done. Like, hey, a lot of times if you get the appeal court throws your shit out, like throws out a conviction, it takes money to convict the shit. They might be like, all right, fuck it. At least you serve some time, whatever. They convened a grand jury for Harvey Weinstein mid-August, and they got a goddamn another indictment for his ass by the end of August. So, again, that shows that they're determined to make sure, at least, and by the way, he has other convictions, but in New York, they want people to know we're not letting this fucking creep off the goddamn hook. And I'm wondering how they're going to treat Diddy related to that aspect.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to go hard on him. And the fact that it's federal is going to be even worse. And keep in mind, the whole Weinstein thing was only state.
Yep.
So
Facts. Yep.
that was them just aggressively pursuing him at the state level, right? So at the federal level, it's a rap, man. And like I said before, like whenever they go after famous people or people that have status or whatever it may be, they know that these individuals have the capability of paying for a good defense team. They have the resources, etc. So they're going to cross their T's and dot their I's a lot of the times, especially at the federal level. So, yeah, no, I mean, this situation with Diddy, I mean, me and you predicted this a couple months back. I remember when we first spoke about this, when he first got raided back in like March or something. Like I literally predicted, last quarter of the year or early 2025, look for the indictment. They're going to arrest him. And boom, here we are, right? Mid-September, and he's getting arrested sooner than I ever predicted. But yeah, man, it's just they're absolutely going to make an example out of him in this situation. Anytime you got a celebrity or a rapper or something like that, Southern District of New York, they love these big high profile cases. I mean, keep in mind, this is the U.S. Attorney's Office that famously prosecuted La Cosa Nostra, right? When they were untouchable at the time. Rudy Giuliani famously, and was one of the first prosecutors to successfully use RICO. The Southern District of New York is what kind of pioneered that. So this is an office that has a lot of prestige, has a lot of image. HSI New York, from the agency standpoint, that's one of our busiest field offices, man. They're a very proud office. For a funny story, the agent that was in charge of HSI New York when 6ix9ine got arrested used to be the special agent in charge of Puerto Rico, which was the busiest field office in the country. So they're a very go-getter active office, HSI New York, and then you combine that with a very go-getter active United States Attorney's Office, which, like I told you before, some of the historical cases they've done, it's not looking good for Diddy, man. This is probably the worst U.S. Attorney's Office to take your case, and one of the worst agencies to be investigating you, for sure.
Okay, I might sound a little bit cynical, but what is the potential chance of maybe Diddy going in either with his lawyer or however it is and says, hey, listen, keep my kids out of it. Keep any woman I've dealt with out of it. Hey, listen, just put it all on me. Not saying he's admitting guilt, but he tries to protect other people, because I'm right now monitoring everyone's socials. I'm trying to see, is anyone going to comment on this? Are they in custody? We don't know. And I'm looking kind of at his sons a little bit too, right? Like, not necessarily do I think that they were with all the fuckery that he was in, but of recent times we hear the stories that he was sharing women with his kids. You know what I mean? Which is like, goddamn. You know what I mean? Like if you and your son got to smash the same girl, fuck it, right? But
yeah, that's definitely on some weirdo shit. Yeah, I mean,
is it a possibility to say? It's like, imagine we're in a car, right? And I'm like the criminal of the bunch, and I'm like, nah, it's my guns. All 3 guns is my guns. Don't charge nobody. Do you think Diddy is the person to be like, yo, listen, whatever it is, put it on me. Leave my sons alone.
I mean, the thing is that he could do that, but like the feds are going to be the ones to decide what they do and don't do. Like, you don't have as much like wiggle room and leverage to kind of dictate these terms with them. Like, they're going to prosecute who they want to prosecute, right? So that's kind of what it is. I predict that, he's their main guy. So he's who they want to go after. He's going to have to give up someone incredibly famous and powerful for them to even give him any type of, give him a break on this case. Which, by the way, we're level 11 hype train, guys. Twitch.tv/Frustrated Podcast. Open up a tab while you're watching Academics if you don't mind.
Yeah, please. Go support my guys. If you don't know, man, my guys, Fresh and Fit, they're my boys. And, of course, support my man, Myron. A guy who's just super talented, multifaceted, not only when it comes to dating, obviously fitness, but he is a wizard when it comes to speaking about, I believe, politics and also anything that constitutes the law. So, wow. We've talked about this a bunch, bro. We've talked about this a bunch.
This guy in Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Blackest Panther is trying to outdo me. I just get 90 subs on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
He give 100 subs. But you know what I'm gonna do right now? I'm gonna get 50 subs right now on stream. 150 subs on Twitch.
Oh shit.
Wait, hold on. Y'all having a sub battle?
Yes, bro. It's black for black. I'm black for man, black for black. He's black too. I'm black too. I'll black him, bro. Watch this.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, because now we're transitioning right now from YouTube live streaming to Twitch, so that's kind of what it is. But no, I mean, now I used to breed this stuff, bro. Like I was an agent for 7 years, and I did all types of investigations. Like I truly used to love this shit. So, the reason why I know so much is because I would like purposely like work with other agencies. I was always fascinated to see how the DEA works versus the FBI, or how the FBI works differently than ATF. How FBI agents write their 302s versus DEA agents write their DEA 6s, right? So I was always very interested in how different agencies work and working with different agencies and kind of leveraging and using different agencies' strengths, right? I used to do something called OCDF cases, Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces cases, right? Where you would work with other agencies and you would get a special designated congressional number for your case, right, from the Department of Justice, and you would get more funding where you can, do a big case like this, which I don't anticipate that this is an OCDF case on this Diddy case, but I think the 6ix9ine case was an OCDF, and I think also the Casanova case was an OCDF. But yeah, man, so this stuff is something that I literally lived and breathed for a very long time. I had like the #1 arrest in 2016 when I was on the southwest border, one of the busiest offices in Laredo, Texas. So when it comes to this stuff, man, like I could talk all day. Any question that you got when it comes to how cases are done at a federal level, even at a state level, or prosecutors, all this other stuff, man, like this is what I used to do, or how to exploit phones, Title IIIs, pen register, tracing traps, ping warrants, all this shit.
Yeah, no, this is so fascinating just based on, who, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I think in hip hop wise, we all believe that this is Mr. Untouchable. This is Mr. Untouchable. Yeah. Right? Let me ask you a question, and I'm really treading into the weeds right here. It's cool. You could be like, don't get into cynical land, because this is definitely cynical land. Some people would believe this, and again, I'm warning you. I'm warning your audience. I'm warning my audience. This is cynicism, just up front. So, if we think about the election year of 2008, Diddy was probably the most important person. He started the vote or die movement.
Yeah.
Again,
Obama.
yeah, of course. That replicated itself in 2012. 2016, he was important, but he didn't do too much, but still, obviously, that was when we saw Donald Trump take office in 2016, and then obviously the subsequent election, we saw then Joe Biden take office. This sounds crazy for me to say because like I'm a rational person most of the time, but do you think that maybe Diddy could have maybe leveraged this ongoing federal shit by maybe being either a little bit more involved or maybe offering up his services to like, yo, hey, listen, yo, Biden, at least Biden at the time, yo, I'm gonna go hard for the to get this black community to, put their vote down for the Democratic Party. And maybe not, I'm not saying it's going to indemnify him of his crimes, but maybe the timing would be a little bit different, right? Because that would be crazy, right? Like if the number one black person that's like, yo, we're going Biden, and subsequently Harris, if that person's fucking getting indicted, that looks crazy, right? Do you think that could potentially have changed anything? Or do you believe that maybe, the advisors for these people just knew down the pipeline, hey, Diddy's fucked, don't touch him, don't go near him? Because I'm going to be honest with you, it's been a little bit alarming. He just hasn't been in front of any of these movements. And we're talking before the lawsuit.
No, that's a good question. I think the important thing here, so I'm going to answer your question, but I'm also going to give the audience something to kind of think about. So I want everybody to know, like when it comes to the federal level, right? Every United States Attorney's Office, Special Agent in Charge, etc., they want to be able to go to Congress at the end of the year and be like, yo, my agency did X, Y, Z. We arrested this many people. We took this much drugs off the street. We seized this much money from illicit activity, etc. They want to be able to go and lobby to get more money for the next fiscal year to continue to have their agency operate, right? And the only way they do that is by showing stats. Law enforcement is dictated by stats. Right. And same thing with the United States Attorney's offices. How many cases did you take on? How many cases did you prosecute? How many cases did you get the guys that plead guilty? Right. Very important. What's the conviction rate? Right. Mm-hmm. Now, with that said, knowing that everything is driven by stats and, and affluence and your ability to, arrest big targets and everything else like that. I think if anything, Diddy posturing himself from a political standpoint and saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and align myself with Biden or whatever. I don't think it would have protected him that much. I think if anything, the more clout and fame you have and the higher up you are, it puts a bigger target on you for the feds to come after you. Because they want to be able to get those headlines and be like, yeah, we were the office that successfully indicted XYZ or did 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be. Now, and I know people have their conspiracy theories and everything else like that, which I totally understand and respect, right? But what I will say is, ask yourself this question. Does the government benefit and get clout from putting this guy behind bars and prosecuting him? If the answer is yes, more than likely they're going to actually go for it. That's why they went after Trump. That's why they went after Hunter Biden on the other side. That's why if you look at this assassin that they got that tried to kill Trump yesterday, I think the FBI is going to try to go after him and build a federal case. Right now he's being held in state custody, but I predict that they're going to try to build a federal case in the next 72 hours. And the reason why is because the FBI has a lot of egg on their face right now from the failed prosecutions of Trump, from the failed Matthew Crooks investigation from Butler, Pennsylvania, where they still can't find a motive or whatever. So they're going to try to make an example of this guy. And if it allows them to get more clout, more notoriety, and kind of repair the public distrust for the federal government right now, they're going to try to do it because it will benefit them and allow them to be able to get more funding in the future. So you always got to ask, what's the bottom line? What's their incentive to get this done? And if the answer is they get more clout, more fame, more notoriety, and they're able to obviously use that to lobby for more funding in the future, then they are probably going to do it. Now, does that mean that there aren't corrupt agents that don't do bullshit? Of course there are. Absolutely there are. That are politically motivated? Of course. But I think that agencies are always going to do what's in their best interest to get more money and to get more notoriety. And a lot of times that means taking down the biggest people that they can or unraveling the biggest conspiracies that they can.
Okay. I'm still having my tinfoil hat on. And it's fine if you're like, yo,
it's good to question it, man, because a lot of it is bullshit. I agree with you.
Now, I've heard this from so many people. Like this is a point that I've heard so many times. They said, by the way, I think Reggie Wright even said this. They said Diddy is not a type of person that will tolerate being in a jail cell for the rest of his life. And they said if it ever came down to it, and I think you know where I'm going, he might seek certain type of alternative measures to, for lack of a better term, he ain't staying in that cell alive.
Yeah.
You tell me when you arrest, anyone, a suspect who's probably facing significant time, maybe the majority of their life if they're convicted, because we're still wondering how the fuck did that happen to Epstein? Like I thought, like that shit was still crazy. It's still crazy to me.
Yeah.
Is it a situation where they're definitely making sure, hey, you're gonna be wherever he's at now, you're watched 24/7. We got to make sure everything's on the up and up.
I think for now, they won't have to cross that bridge because I do genuinely believe he's going to get bond. I'd be shocked if he didn't get it. I do genuinely think that they're going to give him bond, even if it's a house arrest. Just with the level of cooperation that his defense team has exhibited with working with the prosecution, I would be shocked if the AUSA kind of like double crossed the attorney and said, nah, fuck that, we're going to push for him to be held. Because the thing is like these attorneys, they know each other, man. A lot of the time they went to the same law schools. They've worked together maybe at an ADA's office or a private law firm, right? And then, they went on to did different things. So these attorneys all know each other. They're all part of the bar. So what I predict is there's probably maybe an agreement that was made. Look, bro, he's going to cooperate. He's not going to give you guys a hard time. We're going to let you guys know what's going on. The arrest will be simple and smooth. You will have no issues. We'll cooperate. But do me a solid. Let my guy get out on bond. Okay. AUSA says, look, all right, we'll play ball. We're not going to object to him being out on bond. That's fine. And that's really it. Because if the government doesn't object to him being out on bond, because the defense is going to say, Your Honor, I want my client to be out on bond. He's not a danger to community. He has children. He has a business. He has employees. Blah 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 blah. So they're going to kind of list out their case as to why he needs to be out. The government is not going to object to that. That's strong for the judge, because he's going to look at it like, okay, government, you're not objecting to him being released on bond? Nope, government doesn't have any objections. Cool. They're going to probably release him. That's what I predict is going to happen.
Hey, okay, so TMZ has a bunch of photos of Diddy literally walking around as early as 8 p.m. Eastern time. And he's walking around, he's taking pictures, he's posing with people, he's with his son.
Yeah.
Do you believe the feds were like, just keeping a close eye on him if they're going to arrest him pretty much like maybe an hour afterwards? Like, if he's taking a stroll in New York City, because it says just a couple hours before Diddy got busted, he was confidently strolling around New York City with his son, King Combs. He even stopped to greet some fans, take some selfies.
Yep.
What does the feds do then? They're like, yo, he's leaving the hotel. He's just walking around. What do you do?
No, I mean, he's a famous guy. They've probably observed this multiple times while doing surveillance on him, that he kind of just walks around and is living his life. I will say that I've noticed that since Diddy's kind of like had these looming charges on him, he's done a very good job of like maintaining public, how do I say this? Seeming pretty positive publicly.
Being outside. Yeah.
Being outside, being pretty positive, taking pictures with fans, not being like, negative or hateful or angry or, full of despair. I'm sure it probably weighs on him when he goes home, but I think he's done a good job of publicly seeming like he's fine and cheerful. So I think the agents are probably used to that at this point, that he's kind of been keeping up this thing, this facade going for the past few months while he was.
Because if I was his lawyer,
Yeah.
I would tell him to like look happy when you're outside, just so it looks good on the case. That's what I would say if I was his lawyer.
I'll tell you this though, he's probably going to have one of the deepest sleeps that he's had in months. Anytime that you know that you're going to get indicted with criminals, they knock out right away after they're arrested. It's interesting.
Damn.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times it happens, because they're stressed for months knowing that they're going to get arrested by the Fed. So when they finally do get arrested that first night, they pass out, man. It's actually interesting. Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they pass out in the car a lot of times while you're driving into jail.
Yo, I can't see. Yo, I gotta see Diddy in cuffs. I don't believe this shit is like, again, and it's not because I don't like. I know I asked a couple cynical questions, but like Diddy just seems like above this shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like he's just
it's crazy.
like we've never seen a guy this powerful in hip hop. Think about all the most powerful guys in hip hop that we've seen arrested. Suge Knight. This is like Suge Knight got knocked out by a barber. Like he lost pretty much death row. Like he was not the same guy. Didn't have power, influence. Didn't even have respect at that point. No disrespect to him or his son. I know his son watching me from time to time. But Suge Knight was a former shell of himself. R. Kelly. Prestige was pretty much in the dirt. Like, you know, he wasn't doing these big tours. We all know him for having a lot of talent. But we weren't seeing this guy. Like, we were seeing him, like, pop up. He was getting a lot of love in Chicago. Like, he was doing, like, these shows. Like, we would see, like, these older women, like, say, we don't give a fuck. We love him. But culturally, he was still shamed. And he was kind of almost ostracized. So by the time he did get arrested, there's no one like, oh my God, like, you know, it's kind of like everyone's like, all right, good. I'm just trying to think of powerful people, like, chat, you guys could help me name, because we're only in shock. And I imagine this happened to the movie industry with Harvey Weinstein as well, right? Because nobody thought Harvey Weinstein could ever be, you know, arrested, and then it happened. Who else?
No, I mean, it's, you know, it's always like, and this is what the feds like to do, man. They like to go after people that are untouchable, right? So I'm not surprised that Diddy was a target of this investigation. Obviously, they put a lot of money and resources in it because of who he is and how big he is and how untouchable he is. The one thing I will say, though, that's kind of surprised me is I have not seen anyone come out to Diddy's defense and say he's innocent or say that they support him or anything. I haven't seen anyone publicly do that, which is very strange.
Well, Akademiks, question for your brother. We know the music industry is very political, right? And in the industry, I'm sure that he has info on people, like some dirt on them. I guarantee you, like, he has maybe like video of them doing some stuff behind the scenes, or maybe like hear some rumors about people. So he has a lot of things he could expose about people in the industry, right? You think he's gonna say that now that he's being locked up? What do you think?
You know, that is a good question. Here's the thing. If you have a video of motherfucking, like, no disrespect to him, like YK Osiris sucking your cock, nobody gives a fuck. Like, whether it's true or not, right? It's just based on who we're talking about, right? Like, you're Diddy, that's YK Osiris. And again, I'm not throwing him under the bus. I don't think he's get all, but still, like, okay, think about Trey Songz. Okay, we don't give a fuck. So the only person he could have something on that we would give a fuck, and I guess, you know, I was gonna ask Myron this too, is like, there's this Jay-Z element that everyone has been skating around, right? And it's very interesting, right? Because we just seen Foxy Brown commented about this. You know, she put like the startled eyed emojis. Then she says, shit about to get really crazy. Now, she's more synonymous with, you know, her time or her, her association with Jay, you know, as, you know, maybe you could say Lil' Kim is more associated with her, you know, time or association with Diddy. And when you hear Foxy say this, you start to kind of like think, like, what was up? Now, obviously, you know, I don't want to get into some of the weeds here, and I know I've done it before, but they do say things about Jay-Z, except I do think Jay-Z is just way more shrewd. I've heard this from a few people in the game, and, you know, it kind of goes to Myron's point about continued, you know, behavior. They said, hey, nobody's saying Jay-Z was as wild a boy as Diddy, but they said, for any fuck shit that Jay-Z ever did, he cleaned his act up over 10 years ago. So he just ain't been the same person. And when you're not doing those actions continually, you know, it kind of probably doesn't stoke the same fire under investigators to come get you, when literally they would only be investigating stuff that's, you know, the more we go in time, you get further from that behavior. It's not like, yo, Diddy was still throwing parties last year. Like, literally. Diddy was throwing parties last year. Like, he didn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, people were telling him, yo, Diddy went to the Breakfast Club. They literally said, Diddy, you're 50-something. When you gonna slow down? And he said, age ain't nothing but a number. I feel young. He said, he was basically giving niggas reasons why he still felt he could have all these crazy freak-offs. You know,
Yo, bro.
it appears that Jay may have retired from any fuckery if he did do it.
He was performing in a club live in Miami, right, bro? Mm-hmm. Guess what happened? After the club, there's an after party. Guess where it's at? This was like a couple months ago. Diddy's house. They think you still living the same lifestyle. So it's like, I get what you're saying, 100%. So.
Oh, boy, man. Sad shit, man. Sad shit. No, now, I'm going to be honest with you. I expect Jay-Z to go in hiding. And when I mean hiding, not actual hiding. I do think, you know, with recently, we're talking about the Super Bowl, Wayne, Drake, Kendrick. I think that Jay-Z is going to, again, just be absent of comment and conversation. So he's not hiding literally, but he knows when the block is hot and he knows when to fucking switch it up. And I think the block is hot now because after Diddy, there ain't no other bigger wig to get than him. And it's time for him to go again. By the way, I want to give Jay-Z credit. I'm not saying Jay-Z was guilty of anything, but Jay-Z definitely knew the right time to stop doing Made in America, Rock Nation brunches, all the fuck shit that y'all used to associate him with. He stopped. Well, not saying those were fuck shit, but just like all those public things. He knew when to scale it back and lay low. Diddy just never knew when to lay low.
Yeah, I mean, he's been womanizing for a long ass time, man. And the thing also with Diddy that people don't know is like he's had serious problems with like drugs and alcohol. And obviously that clouds your judgment. You do stupid ass shit. And you know, now he's kind of dealing with the consequences of it, man. I mean, the dude's been on top and owning shit since the 90s, 30 years plus.
Hey, by the way,
if you live in Miami, you heard stories about his parties for days, bro. Everyone knows the lifestyle here in Miami, and he's been living it, bro. It's just part of the culture.
And by the way, I interviewed Hitmaker. Shout out to my man Hitmaker. And he said something very interesting, not only about Diddy, but he said about Drake. He says Drake needs to learn from Diddy and Jay because Drake is like 38 now. And you know when Kendrick says watch the party you got to stop the party after a while. Like if you don't stop the party and keep it till 50, you see where Diddy's at. At some point, we ain't saying get married and have kids, but just exit stage left. I'm gonna catch you niggas later. Okay? I'm gonna catch all y'all niggas later. Obviously I don't think and I hope Drake don't have any type of issues compared to these other people we're talking about. But, you know, what do you think about, you know, maybe some of the behavior and, you know, obviously for fresh nose and sees when it comes to like, if you've been around these celebrity rappers or people who have money and a lot of power, it kind of rolls into these sexual escapades and these wild parties and these other things. Is that a valid thing where it's like, yo, you gotta check out of that system or that game, or else you might get fucked?
I'll say this. I've been to quite a few parties. Drake's parties are always fun, and the girls speak positive about Drake all the time. They're like, Drake is respectful, he's nice, he makes sure everything's paid for, open bar.
Yo, I'm not really saying this for Drake, because here's the thing. I'm pretty sure the bitches and I'm saying bitches respectfully, if there's such a thing. The bitches at Diddy party in the 90s were speaking respectfully till it got disrespectful. You feel me? Like, again, we have to realize the time we're in, right? I'm pretty sure the people who are suing him in the 90s, maybe in the 90s, they were like, oh, no, this is normal. Then later.
But, to your point, you open yourself up to like cases because I'm not gonna lie, people's opinions can change. They might need some money. They might say, you know what, fuck this guy, I don't like him more. So you're right, this can change over time. So yeah, you're right. Hosting these parties could open you up to like.
Not only that, you're like drunk and fucked up. Like when Diddy was beating Cassie in that video, like he was drunk at the time.
You think it was all that Ciroc?
Yeah, he was drunk as hell. Like when he attacked her at the hotel, like, and then we all saw that footage.
That's fucked up,
He was
bro.
drunk as hell.
That's
But you do crazy shit like that when you're drunk and high, man. Like, yo, bro, this is why I thank God that I don't drink or do drugs, bro.
Yeah.
Real talk, man. That shit will set you up for failure, man.
Yo, Act. Keep it a bean.
Yeah.
If Drake held a party and invited you, will you pull up? Don't cap, bro.
No. Of course I would. Yeah, no, I would. No,
Party.
Yeah,
We're going, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think my commentary about the Drake thing is this. And it's gonna be a little bit nuanced. I know my audience is gonna hate me for saying this because they want me just to be like, yo, monsters are monsters. What I think is that hip hop culture glorifies and allows certain shit that is sometimes super gray area. And the more you indulge in some of those things that you might think like again, and you know, I'm not trying to jump on no fucking sword for this guy Diddy, but like, I don't know if Diddy thought what he was doing was like super evil, or he thought that, oh, that's what we do. I'm just kind of a little bit extreme.
A lot of this stuff was consensual with these bitches. I have no doubt that a lot of it was.
Yo, you know what I realized, Act, with some people that are high status? It's almost like they get bored of regular fun and excitement, and that was up the ante. So, for example, in his case, I don't know if it was in malintent or not, but for him, it's like, yo, fuck this shit. I'm done doing the I want to get bitches and have fun and do drugs. Dude, it's almost like if like you have to up the ante each time, and it's like it doesn't end until it's too late.
My personal thought is this. I don't think Diddy probably cognizantly realized that what he did over the years were super evil until maybe a year or two ago, when he realized that. And he probably got people hitting him up saying, hey, yo, remember what you did back then? Like, yo, that shit was fucked up. I'm about to sue you. And that's when he started being brother love. I think that's when he realized. I think all he thought he was a crazy party animal that was doing what everybody else was doing, right? Yo, I'm having these wild parties, like, you know, and by the way, it's also him thinking, again, I could be wrong. This is me, like, projecting what I think he might be, you know, going through or thinking. I think he thought, you know, him pushing the boundary a little bit more every time was normal, right? So it's like, all right, tonight we have a party. Everybody's fucked up. All right, shit. People go on their own accord and they do whatever. Now I'm like, all right, well, what if I have rooms for y'all to go do it in? Then he's like, shit, what about if, all right, man, how about if I just bring over the bitch? I'm going to bring over some prostitutes. Oh, shit. All right, bet. Matter of fact, and like keep pushing it to the point where, like, obviously now when we look at it, this shit's just clearly disgusting and just out of bounds. But from when I hear the story of Diddy, a guy who was, you know, like he was basically this young guy getting into the industry who got fired, then got another opportunity, and then made his way. I don't think he was. Actually, let me stop, because I watched one document. They say he was beating bitches from college. Yeah, my bad. Never mind, Chad. I was trying because I know how people could sometimes start pushing the limit. And by the time you've done it over 20 years, you've just pushed the limit a lot. I don't know about the sex stuff, but because I've just always heard Diddy's gay. I'm gonna just keep it a beat with you. That's the only thing. Like the moment I knew I was in quote unquote the music industry is when people told me, hey, you can never repeat this, but we all think Diddy's gay. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean we all think that Diddy's gay? They was just like, yeah, he's gay. Like, yo, he tried to fuck him. I'm like, no, he didn't. They're like, don't ever say this, but we all think so. So that's when I realized I was in the industry, quote unquote. But
yo, we got to ask Freak Mill. You tell us the truth, right? Tell us the truth.
Yo, but in reality, that's the point. Is like, bro, I think one thing we can say, Diddy has been always abusive, right? Because they got stories of Diddy just beating a chick. They said Diddy beat up a bitch like in front of the whole school in college. This is before he had money, before anything. I think his sexual deviancy, this is probably the wrong venue to speak about this, but it goes into when you have an insatiable appetite for sex, right? I think for the normal man, okay, cool, you would love to have multiple women or different women. Then it might get to a point you're like, well, maybe I can have different women at the same time. I want to have threesomes. Maybe you want to do an orgy. Diddy got to another level where he said, fuck my dick even working. I want to see another man dick fucking my chick. He got too far, brother. That's all I can say.
Yo.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it always happens where, you know, when is, you know, how much is enough? And like, the more you're involved in it, the more you do it, the easier it is to get bored. The easier it is to get bored, the more stimuli you need to get to that same level. It's like a drug, man. So yeah, sexual deviancy always progresses. It doesn't stay stagnant. It gets worse and worse and worse because you need more and more to get, you know, off. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't start getting into this weirdo stuff from like just doing whatever. And here's the thing, you're a celebrity, A-list, you got some of the hottest chicks that you've in the world. You had J-Lo at one point, you not have some of these bad chicks, you know, you could get any woman that you want. I guess you would look at it like, it's a game. Let me see if I can get a dude now. I don't fucking know. Like, you know, people, the sexual degeneracy never stops evolving. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yo, if he did the crime, man, lock him up though, bro. For real, dog. Real talk, lock him up, bro. That's some weirdo shit.
Well,
just saying.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think it's if he did the crime. I think it's very clear that he potentially committed some crimes, right? Like we see him on video giving a woman the beats, right? Now, the punishment for that, and you know, not saying whether rightly or wrongly, the punishment for that wouldn't be spending the rest of his life in jail, I think, but the punishment for sex trafficking, if that's what the crime is. Which I think that's where we're trying to either process that, because even like Myron said, Myron is like, yo, I think some of these girls were down with it. Okay, well, that becomes multifaceted. Are they down with it, or did he coerce them with money, lifestyle? Did he coerce them with, hey, this is, you know, like I think one woman who filed a lawsuit said he controlled our financial future, so we had to do this shit. Or were they down with it? Like, yo, salute to my boy Vlad, but Vlad said he interviewed a few people who knew Cassie, and they said, yo, you know, and again, these feel like wrong conversations to have because, especially us even discussing this, like we're not bad people, like we're not trying to like be on the wrong side of history, but yeah, like Vlad said that he spoke to some people who said, hey, with all due respect, Cassie loved that shit, like, you know. Yeah. Like she was into it. Now, granted, did he beat her ass? Did he do all type of stuff to her? Yes, but they were saying that was one of her kinks, and I think when we try to look at it with a independent, you know, vision, that's the most egregious part of it. Yo, you're doing these freak offs, forcing these innocent women into some shit that they never wanted to do, that they were not having fun, like you did it without their will, and then when you hear other things like. Nah, some of them was into that shit. You're like, it makes us almost sit back that we got to just like, all right, let's look at the evidence that the police is going to have. And obviously, you know, we're going to do that tomorrow morning, at least to some extent. But you don't really know what to think, right?
It'll be interesting if Cassie ends up being a witness in this investigation from the criminal perspective, which I know for a fact she more than likely at least led investigators to other witnesses, but because she was with him for so long. So she was probably a key cooperator in this criminal investigation where, you know, she might have led the feds to other individuals that Diddy might have sexually abused during the course of their relationship. So it'd be interesting to see if, like, you know, her involvement in the criminal case and how deeply she was involved. Maybe she might have put in other people, she might have, you know, be someone that's going to testify herself. We'll see, obviously, when the indictment is rolled out tomorrow, but we'll know for sure once Diddy gets his discovery and he reads those ROIs, how deep it goes.
All right.
Yeah.
I just wonder, for all of the people that went to Diddy's parties, right, that aren't talking right now, I can think of one person that we all know, Kevin Hart. You think he's like sweating right now, like he's like worried? Or some of these people, other people that went to his parties, or not really?
Nah. I do believe that the level of craziness he got to, he kept that to a certain amount of people. I do believe that some silence or some lack of comment is always indicative of maybe a particular culture or lifestyle that maybe, you know, again, we're in 2024 and there's a few lawsuits that he has that are in the 90s. Like I always said that, you know, again, never defending these people, but just speaking just honestly how shit looks like. Even say like Bill Cosby. Yo, do you think that Bill Cosby was the only nigga putting Quaaludes in women's drinks or Spanish, whatever the fuck he said he was doing? You think that wasn't a culture? You think he's the only one? Like, they got him and they be like, all right, well, we got everybody from, what was it, the 70s? All right, we got everybody who did this. I think there's a culture that was existing that maybe he was one of the more famous people who went crazy with it. But there are definitely people who skated by that who probably just shut the fuck up, laid low, or moved to Bali. So, again, I think a lot of people who are staying quiet on the Diddy stuff will probably be like, yo, that's how we used to always party. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, like, if you've watched BET Uncut, some of the Freaknik shit, like, you know, as we talk about consent, none of that shit sounds like consent. Niggas is swiping credit card through bitches' ass crack. You know what I mean? They got 5 niggas palming the ass cheek of scantily clad or dressed women walking down the street. Like, you know, again, it becomes a very dicey situation. I mean, none of this absolves Diddy, but all I'm saying is that I think, you know, people are going to go down by saying, nah, Diddy was the only one. I don't think so, man. I think a lot of them will he ain't the only freaky ass nigga from the motherfucking 90s.
Well, maybe we'll find out soon, but he's the biggest catch right now, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, nigga. It's 2 a.m. here in Miami.
Well, Ak, any other things you got for me or anything like that, bro? I'd be happy to answer any last few, because we got a stream tomorrow too. We're gonna probably try to do like a little subathon.
Okay.
And then,
hey,
yo, are you going to TwitchCon?
I don't know, but I definitely know that in the morning I will be on for whenever this indictment will be on sealed. That's a fact. So
okay.
So either, you know me, first of all, like I'll just be on. So it's either I'm not getting off a stream tonight, or when I get off stream tonight, I'm gonna try to use every resource possible to figure out when this thing will be presented in court, because that indictment is
Southern District of New York. Do this, bro. Just go on Southern District of New York right now, the website, and then look for initial appearances, and it should tell you when they have initial appearance typically.
Okay.
Yeah, go on there. Maybe that'll help you, save you some time, so that way you can get some rest and then wake up when they the initial appearance. I mean, bro, if I were you, I would see when it is, and bro, you should just go to the court and be like right there. It's open court. Like, you literally just go to the courtroom and you can sit there and see the initial appearance. It's not gonna be long. It's gonna be like 20 minutes at most. But
he ain't leaving the house.
No, I would for this. Now this is the joint. This is the joint.
Go to court. You're right there. You're not that far from the city.
The only thing about, and I think you know this, you just can't film in federal court. I've never seen federal court.
Yeah, you can't. No, you can't. You can't. They'll get pissed off at you if you try to do that. But you could be there and like take notes and shit like that, and you'll be fine.
What do you think? An initial appearance, he's like the only person showing up, or they're gonna have like a lineup of defendants?
They'll have other people, but it's the middle of the week, so I don't predict that there's gonna be many other defendants that will be there for their initial appearance. So it'll probably be just him and maybe a couple other. But yeah, I mean, it's not that busy.
Damn.
I remember when I was in Laredo, Texas, we'd have 100 motherfuckers in the courtroom sometimes that got arrested the day before.
Really?
Bro, I'd be at an initial appearance for hours, bro. That's how busy we were on the southwest border. People getting arrested federally. Crazy shit, man.
Yo, this is like so unexpected. Like, I think we were all waiting for this, but like the timing, usually we hear about also indictments, like, you know, announcements of indictments. Like, it usually comes to a press release the 3rd. And it comes in early in the day. We would be able to, you know, the media is gonna dissect it. This one came this is after 8 p.m.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why, like, for me, I looked at when I found out that they arrested him at night like that. That tells me like they had eyes on him. They had the arrest warrant in hand. That they just made the executive decision to pick him right there.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
wow. All right. Listen, if you guys are available tomorrow, you know, I'm gonna definitely
we're
be
gonna
live.
stream tomorrow night, probably around 7 p.m. Are you gonna be on?
Trust
we
and
could
believe.
talk more this case.
Trust and believe I'll be on it at that time. Okay.
All right.
So
yeah.
Then
hold up. TwitchCon, nigga. TwitchCon.
When's TwitchCon? I don't even know when it is.
It's
Thursday. to Sunday.
Yeah, Friday to
in
Sunday.
San Diego.
San Diego. Come with us, bro.
Face is gonna be there. Silky as well. Pulling up.
Man,
Let's go, man.
I ain't gonna lie. This is like a Diddy-thon.
Nigga, you could stream that shit from there. Me and you could literally stream it together there. Pause.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I want to do some shit with you, IRL, and also like kind of like this type of shit. We're
I have our man there, bro. So you can literally, we could stream it to your shit and our shit too. Like we have all that with the backpack. So you can literally, we could cover the Diddy stuff from San Diego, man. It's not a problem.
All right. Let's talk offline about it. Yeah.
right.
We could do some.
You were supposed to be here in Miami like months ago. I don't know what the hell you doing,
He
man.
ain't going.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie. I've been just kind of like working. Like, yo, I was telling Fresh, I'm like, yo, at the end of the year, I'm taking like the biggest. I feel like I've been like, especially anytime bullshit comes up, whether it has to do with me or some other shit, bro, I just work through it, bro. Like, I'm never the guy who'd be like, all right, I'll see you. You know, like Dr. Disrespect got in trouble and he was just like, all right, man, I'll be back like in 3 months. Like, I'm the person who just like, all right, cool. So if I was doing 4 days a week, all right, now I'm doing 5-6 days a week. Like, I just work a little bit harder. But, you know, it's been all right. It's been all right.
All right. It was a pleasure, bro. We'll see you tomorrow.
I definitely appreciate you guys for coming on here and really helping dissect some of this stuff. All right.
No, for sure, man. This is, like I said, I love this stuff. It helps me kind of relive my old life.
And guys, Mike is a friend of ours, man. Go support him as well on Twitch, Rumble, and YouTube. And yeah, man.
Yeah,
good
man.
dude.
He's on there. So Act, thank you, man. We'll close out on our end here, man. And I'll definitely talk with you tomorrow. We're gonna be live on tomorrow night. So
all right, definitely. All right, bro.
So yeah, we can talk about the Trump thing too if you want.
Oh yeah, we got to do that. Yeah, that's the crazy. This shit came up. I had a whole lineup of topics. I'll get to it after you guys get off. But no, I appreciate you guys though.
All right, brother. We'll talk with you tomorrow. Peace.
All right, bro.
All right, peace. All right, I think we did a good job. Salute to Myron. Salute to Fresh. I think we did a great job of kind of breaking down as much details as we know.